This is In Their Closet Podcast.
Welcome to In Their Closet. I'm your host, El Moore, and today we're joined by Kojo Ampadu.
Come on.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Kojo's a reality TV interviewer. He does a lot of own TV interviews and relational coach, wedding MC, and he is the host of Little Black Book on YouTube. He has interviewed some of Houston's most relatable reality TV stars from Ready to Love. That's how I got to know him. But you've interviewed quite a lot of reality stars from the OWN network.
Absolutely.
And I feel like you've become definitely like a relationship coach yourself. So the first things first, because, you know, I like to listen to Steven Speaks. I like to listen to Lateris. I like to listen to you guys give. I like to listen to men when they're talking about relationships. But are you in a relationship, Kojo?
Dun, dun, dun. I am actually not in a relationship.
What?
Yeah, no, not a relationship.
Is that a goal?
I think I took some time out.
Okay.
You know, I wanted to explore the world.
How long is this timeout going to be? Or how long has it been since?
It's been 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
You know what? Money will change you.
More or less.
More.
Oh my gosh.
Having more money will change you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the criteria now?
I think no, in all honesty, I wanted to take some time out. I wanted to heal. I wanted to really look at my own behaviors. You know, I wanted to stop making excuses for why I was in certain relationships. I had to take some accountability.
Good.
And once I realized that, I was like, yeah, you don't need to be in a relationship. You think other people are the problem. You are just as much as a problem as them. So if you're dealing with toxic people, it's because probably you're toxic.
Yeah, you're probably attracting that.
Yeah.
So what was what's an example of one of the behaviors that you've noticed within yourself and you've corrected?
I think for me, self-worth and esteem.
Yes.
Not really valuing myself, and then that puts me in a position of deficit where I'm trying to be a Superman for somebody so that they can see my worth rather than actually knowing what my actual worth was, which is why I was always in the situation I was in. I was trying to save somebody, so like, you can see me and be like, he's great.
You had the S on your chest.
Oh, the S's on my chest. The cape was flying.
Oh my God. So you like the damsel in distress.
Oh, loved it.
What's wrong with that type of woman? I'm interested to know this perspective.
I think damsel in distress would be even a nice word. I think when you're dealing with people that are broken.
Okay. Yes,
you know,
for sure.
Are broken and you're looking to fix them.
Yes.
And we call it build a bear boo. You know, you like to build people up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to do that a lot.
Yeah, I heard you giving some advice, and I remember you saying build a bear. I remember specifically, but I know a lot of us can identify with that. Like, we see someone and we see the potential in them. And so you recognize that in yourself. What was it that made you, like, what steps have you taken now so that when you see someone, because we all have things in us that we're working on currently that we need to fix. So where does the line draw where you say, like, that's not something that I can work on this person with?
I think I take notice of myself first and foremost.
Okay.
Right? So if I'm talking to somebody, I get to know them. If the conversations focus more on the trauma than actually getting to know the person, which a lot of conversations were in the past,
oh my God,
then I know that this is me now falling into a position that isn't going to be a right relationship. I'm invested in trying to help and save that person. They're probably better as a friend than they are as a lover.
That is so good.
You know,
if the conversation is about trauma, that is good. I actually have had conversations like that with people. And it's just heavy. I have girlfriends that I love, and sometimes I think to myself, like, this is too much for me. I can't imagine dating. There are lots of things that as a woman I recognize within myself, probably because I'm around other women, and I look and say, like, if I did something like that on a date, how would my date feel? And so I think the trauma conversation, I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that with my girlfriends. Okay, so what is the criteria for the potential woman in the future, Mrs. Kojo? Because everyone is looking at your shirt on YouTube when you got your chest out, and they're going crazy.
I think for me, criteria first, I know.
Yeah.
Criteria first and foremost is a Christian. Born again Christian, loves the Lord, has their own relationship with Jesus Christ, That's the first and foremost.
Okay.
Second thing is, I'm so sorry to anybody else, but I can only date black.
Yes.
I can't date anywhere else.
Yes.
So I need them to be black.
Okay.
That's the second thing.
Yes.
And I think the third thing for me is somebody who understands concepts. So I like depth when it comes to conversation. I like the person to be able to understand
Yes.
and have deep conversations. Like I need that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? To be able to feel whole as I'm in a relationship. And a kind, compassionate, loving, and the last word there is thoughtful. Because some people are kind, they are
Yes.
compassionate, but they're not thoughtful. Meaning they're not thinking ahead of time about you. You know what I mean? They're not a bad person.
Yeah.
But I need that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? 'Cause that's how
100%.
I am. And I think when you find somebody that is willing to serve as much as you're willing to serve, I think that's where I am. I need that kind of person too.
Yeah.
Those are the key things.
One of the things that I noticed when I was dating is that I'm a giver. I like to do like little cute gestures and gifts. And it's not that I'm doing it because I want it done back to me, but I definitely want it done back to me.
Absolutely.
And it gets to the point where if you're dating someone, you notice that that's just not automatic for them. They don't think of little things like, I saw a Snickers bar and I know you love these things, just little things like that. But just thinking outside of the person that you're with. I think that reciprocity is important in a relationship. And so if you have someone that is kind and thoughtful and goes out of their way and they can match that same vibration, that same energy, those gestures, that's a blessing.
Absolutely. I think I was even talking to the Lord about this. I was like, I just need someone who serves as much as I do and has that heart for it.
Yes.
I think, and that's that goes back to the Build-A-Bear conversation, that you unintentionally get locked into trying to serve somebody in the hopes that they will turn it around and see how grateful you are for doing it, and then they'll serve you. It doesn't work like that.
It's got to be in them already.
It's got to be in them already. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because and you have to think about it for the other person's perspective. Like if I come along now and let's say you have 100,000 debt and I come and pay it off, you start to feel a weight on your shoulders. Like, well, he just paid 100 grand debt off. What do I have to do to make it equal? You don't want that from the person. You want the person to naturally just feel, okay, cool. You do this, I do this. I'm not thinking about,
I'm indebted to you.
I'm indebted to you. They're doing it because that's who they are.
Yeah.
And not everyone is that person. And that's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
There is
that
somebody
is
out there.
okay.
But if you need that, you need to look for that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah.
Is there like a physical look or is it more inward?
Now, we ain't going to lie.
This is in their closet.
Nobody should lie.
We
Nobody
talk
should
about
lie.
how we feel on the inside and how that looks on the outside. So tell us about how that looks on the outside.
Nah, I said that already. I like black women. The second thing I'm going to say is I like,
Okay.
the Lord has made it so we can like it, the booty. Okay?
You said here that you're visiting here in Houston. You said that we had beautiful women.
I think, and I said this to one of my friends yesterday, this is probably the place I've come to and I've seen the most. And when I say most, as in frequency, as in quantity, the most beautiful black women I've ever seen. It's like walking into a safari and just having beautiful women on show. Like, it's lovely, honestly.
And you know what? When you live here and you grow up here, I just think everybody looks like us. But when people start to say it more and more, I'm like, well, I guess our city is great. I saw a post and they were talking about how hard it is to be in a solid relationship in Houston, Texas, because there are so many women. Is temptation
Ooh.
because there's so many women? Is that a real thing? Or I was asking someone on the show last week, can a man be faithful despite the fact that there are women all over Instagram, all over social media, all in your city, maybe all in your office? Is it hard for a man to be faithful if he falls in love with someone that has everything that he's prayed and asked God for?
Faithfulness is not dependent upon the woman. It
Right.
is dependent upon my integrity.
Oh, that is a good answer. Come on, Kojo.
That's just the real. I can't
That is
lie about.
good. That is a great answer.
You have to be. I think the biggest thing for cheating, like I did I'm doing a podcast very soon, but talking about these what we call dark arts. And when I was younger, I was like 18. When I decided to cheat, the reason wasn't because of the girl. It wasn't because she was bad. It's because there was an insecurity in me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show that I'm a big dog. You know what I mean? And so I was unfaithful, not because of her, but because of my own thing that I'm feeling. I think when people cheat, you have to be honest with yourself. What are you feeling?
Yeah.
And it's okay to feel. It is okay, and I'm going to say something very wild. Okay, it's okay to feel that, you know what, someone might look better, might even be better than your partner has.
Yeah.
But that's not where you're going, because you know that your integrity is the most important thing to you.
Absolutely.
Number two, I cannot replace what my partner does with somebody brand new, because the time, the energy, the person knows who I am and what they bring to the table. It's very easy to quit and start again, but when you're starting a painting and a drawing and you've gone halfway through it, it's very difficult just to and start again. It takes effort, it takes time. And I think some people have become so accustomed to disposing of other people. They don't realize that as you do that, you make yourself disposable. You know what I mean? So like for me, cheating is all about integrity. Are you integrous to yourself? Do you hold yourself to a higher count and standard? When no one's watching, what are you going to do?
Right.
And that's the key question.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
You said something, and then I want to go back to that.
Go for it.
You said that the Build-A-Bear.
Boo. Mm-hmm.
So you've had people on your show, and I've heard you give really good, strong, solid advice. Because we can get into relationships where, the person that we like, we see the potential there. How is it that we can go in without... I'm trying to fix this in a way so that I can ask it without asking too much.
Okay.
There was someone on your show and you told them leave
yes,
this relationship. You kind of suggested it.
Yeah.
And they were saying, I've been in this relationship for a while.
Yeah.
What's the difference in saying it's okay to walk away or hang in there and not just be accessible or replaceable?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is age as well. Age plays a very big factor into things. Mm-hmm. At 20 and what you're at 40, two different space of life. Mm-hmm. Time is flying. It's going. You can't ask what a 20-year-old would do and what a 40-year-old would do. They're two different steps of life. Mm-hmm. I think the most important thing in terms of like getting to a stage where we're going to say, if you're going to say leave, I think it goes back to what we said earlier on. Are you in a place where you're trying to have a project? Because having a project of a person is usually about your own ego. It's not even about them. It's about your own ego. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I think when you are honest with you in terms of saying, okay, this person is, and I think people get scared because they want to settle down.
Yes.
But you're settling.
Yes.
So you mean? So
I don't like the word settle down.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
But there is some aspects of settling that is okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because it's not you're not fighting a non-negotiable. If someone's 6 foot, that's what you want, but they're 5'3". Okay, maybe 5'3" might be exaggeration, but 5'5", 5'6". You know what I mean? That's not a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So you might be settling in that area, or you've compromised in that area, but it's not a thing where you're settling going to be like, oh my God, I'm never gonna love this person. I think in the keyest part is that you must understand where you're at. If you start finding yourself project managing, where you want to control everything, you are now in a space where you've got a project and not a partner.
Yeah.
And I think for people who are in that space, oftentimes, again, it started off that way. You're just not being honest about it. It started off that way. You didn't become a project manager.
Yes.
You were always a project manager.
Yeah, you're dead on.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're honest with ourselves, a lot of times it is the ego. Sometimes we stay in relationships longer than we want because we don't want our ego to be bruised that we're walking away or that it didn't work out. Or we're embarrassed to our friends. We have to make explanations and talk about things that we didn't want to come to light.
Absolutely.
But it is dealing with our ego. And I've learned, one of my girlfriends called me and I'm explaining to her, like, this isn't working out. And she says, Lisa, it never was going to work out. And you've only been hanging on to it because of your ego. And when she put it to me like that, and I stood outside myself and like evaluated it, and I was right. You're saying it too. Our ego makes a huge play on how hurt we are, how much we're invested in this, what other people are going to say or think about us, because we do care about what people think about us. But the reality is that if we come down to it, we know in the beginning this was something that we compromised on to maybe just say that we wanted to have someone.
Absolutely. People are afraid to be alone.
Yeah.
I think the ego thing is really interesting, right? Because I think a lot of times what it's encompassing is time, energy, resources have been spent. And it's similar to anybody who does investing. If you put time, energy, and resources into a stock, it can be very difficult to say sell now when you can see it plummeting. It's like, well, it's going to come back up. It's going to come back up. Like, how much money and time have I spent into this stock? It can be very difficult to let go. And that's what happens in relationships. You can get to a place where it's difficult to say, I'm going to let go, because you realize how much you put in. Can you do that again? Can I find someone else to now go and put all this effort into? But I think you said something really key. I stand outside of myself and I ask myself real questions. What am I actually seeing? And I think that's the hard part for a lot of people, to be more self-aware, to say, actually, if I stand outside of myself and I look in, what am I actually seeing? Was the relationship really that good? Probably not. Did they put into me as much as I put into them? Probably not.
Yeah.
When you started this relationship, was something not quite right? Probably.
Right.
But you have to ask the question, what's my motivation for going into that relationship in the first place?
Right.
What did I really want? And
Absolutely.
I think that's where most people are at.
When did you start your podcast?
8 years ago.
Because you have a huge following.
By the grace.
Yes. And the conversations are always on point. What caused you to say, I'm going to start 8 years ago, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to get on YouTube and I'm going to start doing this.
You know what? Me and my friend talk about relationships when we were young. And I mean, what was that, 2015? I would have been how old? 8 years ago? 22? But I've been talking about relationships since I was, and this sounds so corny, but I will say it, since I was probably like 15, 14.
Wow.
Been helping people.
Really?
In relationships, yeah. I have no clue what I knew at 15. No one should have been listening to me. What would I know at 15? But what I did know is that boy don't like you, girl, so leave him alone.
Right.
And that was advice I was giving him. But yeah, I started at 22, and the reason why I started is because I was doing a blog already. I had a blog called Gentleman Express where I was talking about real thoughts, how men think, and relationships. And then I was like, I like the camera.
Right.
I'm a bit of an actor. So
a blog, you were writing this information?
I love writing, yeah.
Okay.
So I was writing it down.
Wow.
And I was like, you can actually do this by video. You're not scared of the camera. Go for it. That's how I started it.
And how did your following start to develop?
I'll be honest with you, where it really picked up was Ready to Love.
Really?
Yeah, where it really picked up.
Which season?
It would have been London season, which is, I think...
Okay.
That's Houston, right?
And London is from Houston, but London was in Atlanta, and
Yes.
I forget, but it might have been the season before Houston. Maybe the second, because I think Houston was the third, but it was pretty early.
Yeah.
Pretty early in there. It could have been maybe the first or second, but that was good.
That season was amazing. I can't lie.
Yeah.
I just saw London the other day as well, so shout out to him.
Yeah, London's here in Houston.
Yeah, that Ready to Love season is what took my channel. I had already run about that 10K at that point, but that season just rocketed the channel.
Yeah, because I don't know. I picked up on you one day and I was like, well, this guy's talking. And always valid points. And it always sounds so much better coming from an accent, from a British accent. Doesn't sound as harsh. Leave him. You could do so much better. Okay.
It's much better.
So where is your podcast going now? Like, because I see that you've got like you've got super panels. You constantly having different playlists, different things that we can watch. It's not just Ready to Love. It's a lot of different shows on there.
Yeah. I think for me right now, I think I'm in a phase where I'm trying to, I guess, not rebrand, but kind of focus a bit more. Mm-hmm. So I want to focus the channel more on having really key conversations. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I guess that involves maybe separating reality TV and maybe leaving that there and starting a new platform potentially. I just want to be able to have a space where it's just solely conversations, like, like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So we can actually help people, tackle some really key issues.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm kind of heading to right now. Obviously, as I'm doing a relationship coaching, it's kind of giving me a bit more understanding of people and different things that people are going through. So for me, I think that's where the next kind of step is. It's like, let's now homing on what's really happening in the community. Let's have a real conversation about what's going on, how to help people, and talk about real relationship issues,
So I like that the guys have jumped in on the conversations with the relationship. Oh. Like I said, I love Steven. I love Lateris. I love listening to you guys, but it's hard. I'm looking at you with a side eye right now because it's hard listening to y'all. And I'm like, why ain't y'all picked anyone yet? I mean, what's the problem? Is the bar high? Because I haven't picked anyone. The bar's a little high. I was married a long time. So for me to come back outside and start dating, I want to take my time. I'm not in a rush. I've been married, so, I don't have any goals or anything to do. I don't have to prove to anyone that I can do it. I've done it. So, I'm taking my time, but it hasn't happened for you yet. And you have a lot of advice, and I know you meet a lot of people.
I definitely do.
So, what's, the holds up? I know that you have wanted to give yourself some time, but 3 years is a while.
Listen, I have my own issues I'm working out, if I'm honest with you.
How long do you get to work on your issues?
As long as I guess you needed it. Do you know what I mean? Listen,
you can't say I want to play the field longer. You can say that.
Listen, I have a term and everyone knows me. I say it. Don't cash out too early. As a man, you can't cash out too early. Just,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as your brand is growing. And again, that's the ego thing though, right?
Yeah.
So I always tell people, I always try to give two sides on when I'm talking about on my YouTube. There's two sides. I will always tell you the truth about what I am, which is I can tell you advice. Yeah. I'm not going to take my own advice. Sometimes I'm not going to take my own advice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's good advice.
Yeah, it's good advice.
I might not take it. So I might tell you, hey, look, that woman there is amazing for you. Choose her.
Yeah.
Now, I might see and be like, yeah, that would be great, but I'm going to play the field.
Yeah.
And play the field sounds wrong. I'm going to say more, I'm going to enjoy getting to know what God has created and get to know them further. That's what I would say.
I mean, I guess that comes back to the fact that you don't want to settle.
Right now, yeah.
And if your brand is growing, you may not be the same Kojo today that you would be in 3 or 4 years. And that would change what you attract and possibly what you're attracted to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You hit a nail on the head there. You're a dangerous woman, you are.
Because I've been thinking the same thing.
Wait, what?
I'm like, do I want to pick someone in Houston? Do I want to pick someone all over? Like, I want to see what my choices are. I got Houston, and Houston is a large city, but what happens if I go here or here? Everything starts to change.
The field becomes open, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And
right.
with time, hopefully we're getting better and better every single day. We're learning more and more about ourselves, and we're constantly elevating and manifesting things that we want. So I know that you have a strong faith. Where does that background come from?
Yeah, I grew up in a Christian household. So they always installed the Christian tenets, but I got saved at 22.
Wow.
And I like to keep it real, when I talk about my faith.
Yeah.
I have my own journey. I don't always get it right, and I think that's why we're in this situation right now. So let me have a real conversation. The reason why we're in this wilderness period, the last 3 years, is because I've not been behaving the way I need to behave.
Okay.
I've been a bit of a carnage. Okay. I've been a bit dark. You know what I mean? I've been enjoying the ladies.
Yeah.
Okay. And that has made me spiritually dull. So I always talk about it in the real, and I say, listen, how I live my life with Christ is that I need to see. And when you are bouncing here and there and doing all these kind of things that God has said we shouldn't be doing, your eyes begin to dull.
Yeah.
And so I can't trust my judgment alone.
Yes.
If I can take the psychology I've learned and apply it, but I that wouldn't, for me, will be kind of scary, because when I'm spiritually strong and I'm spiritually sharper, how God wants me to see my life is going to be much different to me when I'm much duller and I'm seeing it from my own human perspective. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I've kind of been in this space. I've been kind of just enjoying and it's made me be like, hey, if you get into a relationship now, you might hurt someone by saying, "Oh, God said this, I shouldn't go in there." Back up. I don't want to do that to someone. Do you know what I mean? But then saying that, if I go to the furthest depth, how smart is it if also at the same time I'm playing or dabbling with women? How smart is that also? So I always like to give both sides. It's not me gonna lie about it and try and be like, oh yeah, it's okay to do what I'm doing. It's not. Yeah. But I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't want to lie.
Yeah, I understand that. You know what? I was talking to my son, and he was feeling bad about some stuff and wanting to go and pray. And you go to God and pray. But I was telling him, don't be so hard on yourself. When God created you, he knew before you were born that today, this day, this was going to happen. None of this is a surprise to God. God created you, and he loved you that day the way he loves you now. And I know that we have been raised with, my father's a pastor, I'm a PK.
Ooh, baby.
I know that we've been raised with certain standards, and we don't always hit the mark, but God loves us unconditionally.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse to sin, but God knows who we are, And thank God for grace. Thank God for mercy.
Thank God for his grace indeed. Because I need more of the grace.
So you have interviewed a lot of our Ready to Love cast here in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
What's your most memorable interview or your most memorable guest that we can talk about?
My most memorable, do you know what? Jay Brad. I think out of every person I've ever interviewed, me and Jay Brad probably are the closest in alignment of thought process. I call him the cerebral assassin.
Really?
Because his mind is so sharp.
Really?
You know, and I was talking, we always joke about it. I said, like, the way you think, I see it. You know what I mean? Because I think the same think pattern. So for me, I think our interview was really cool because I was actually looking at me and I was like, ooh, I'm reading you, but I'm reading me. No, I'm reading you, but I'm reading me. Okay, yeah. So I think that was the most memorable of interviews that we did as well.
Jay Bradley was on the Resort Ready to Love season, and his love interest was Winter and Joy. And Joy had a loss in her family, and Jay really stood out to me because he ended up leaving shortly after she left. He excused himself from the show, and I thought that was such a stand-up behavior. And Jay actually was kind of like, in the beginning, he kind of knew what he wanted and kind of stuck with Joy. So in some of those similar behaviors, is that what resonated with you as well?
I think it, and I've done a review, so he knows. But I think what was sitting with me is the choice between the two women and how he's managing the two women. And I was like, this is a very clever man because he knows, you know how to get the best out of the situation so you can operate on both. Because you don't want to, as an individual who's smart, your ego is what's the biggest flaw.
Yeah.
You believe in your intellect over everything. And I was looking at him, I was like, this brother has got both Winter and Joy. I see how he's balancing it. And he's trying to get both of them. And sometimes when you're trying to capture two things with one stone. And the reality is when you do that, sometimes you lose both.
Yes.
But I can see this, I see the ticket. I said, you trying to get both, bro. And I was like, that's where I see myself. I was like, I would probably do the same thing, bro.
Will we ever see you on a reality show?
No.
You're not afraid of the camera. You just admitted that to us.
I would love the camera. Put me on the
and you like the sport. You like to look.
I like it, but you know what? You're going to see a darker side of me. I don't want you to see that darker side of me. You're going to see me hunting. No.
So we wouldn't see you competing for love.
No.
Okay.
Because I just think even that term, competing for love.
Yeah.
It puts you in a sports mode, and I don't want to be in a sports mode when I want to.
It's definitely a sport.
Yeah.
On a reality show, it's definitely a competition. It's like, may the best man win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you go?
No, absolutely not.
Why would you not go? You're beautiful.
I've had the opportunity. They just called me maybe a couple weeks ago to shoot.
Oh,
I've been turning them down left and right. But when I sign those NDAs, so they tell me about the shows, I say, listen, I've got a couple of girlfriends. They would be great on the show. I'm a behind the scenes person.
Okay.
And for years, this podcast, we did not have any video. I did not want to be in front of the camera. We just recently started throwing these up on YouTube. And there's nothing fancy about the videos because I'm not the camera person. I really like to be behind the scenes. So, and I'm not a competitor. Like I like to be courted. I like a man to choose. I like for us to like choose each other. But I like to know that there's nobody else and it was me. It's always me. And so being on a show, it wouldn't be hard. I mean, it would be hard for me to do that because I would be like, I would probably be like Denise. And when I had Denise on the show, I told her, this is the reason why I can't be on the show. Because I would be like, who are you with tonight? You need to be coming with me. What is going on? They would be like, this girl is crazy. I would remove myself from the show. Like within the intro and I didn't see who I want, I'd be like, okay, well, thank you. I'm out. It's like,
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So, but I really feel like you would be good on the show.
I don't think I'd be good for it. I would be good TV.
It would be great.
I don't know
TV.
how good I would be on the show because once I get it's and I always said it's like cheating is it's almost like cheating, right? And I said to people like cheating for me, I felt the same energy cheating as I did when I started acting.
Yeah.
When I did a play and I said this is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a role. You go into this mode, you become someone else, you think differently. And I was like, that's what TV would do to me. I would go into a role.
Yes, and that is what happened.
And that's what happens, yeah.
That I was with someone who was on TV, and they literally were playing a role on TV, and privately it was something different, and that became very scary to me. But
wait, you can't skip that. How did you manage that situation?
I had a conversation and said, like, listen, because it felt like gaslighting. Like, I'm seeing one thing on the TV. I love this woman. I want to be with this woman. And then coming home to me like, that's all TV. You know what I'm saying? I just want to be on reality TV. I want to expose my brand. I want to be a bigger celebrity. I want to be bigger than Houston. That's respectable. You want to grow your brand. You want to do all these things. But at the sake of the relationship, no. I'm going to choose Lisa. I'll choose Lisa for both of us. That didn't sit well with me. The word hypocrite comes from being an actor. That's where the word derives from. It's hypocritical to be this way and then to switch and then be this way.
That's fair.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to do it. But I think when you're taking on even a public persona and a private persona, like you have to be careful, even on social media, like what you share and what you don't share. Have you shared your relationship in the past on social media? Is that something that you would be entitled to do?
Listen, I've already said this. Listen, I'm a private person, not a secretive person. So
not a secretive, private
person.
Yeah.
My people will know.
Yes.
But the world doesn't necessarily need to know.
Yeah.
I think, but I said, when you love somebody, you speak about it.
Yes.
You can't help not speak about it.
Yeah.
So if you watch my videos, you'll know I'm in a relationship because I'll speak about the person.
Yes.
If I'm not, you won't hear about the person. It's the same with, like, if I love Jesus, you'll hear me speak about Jesus.
Right.
If I don't, I won't speak about him.
Right.
So that's how you can really tell people when they are in love with somebody, because they speak about that person.
Right.
So you'll hear me speak about it, but you won't necessarily see photos and videos and, like, listen, once I get wedded, you might see one video or one photo and that's it. I don't like that whole
look at us
kind of thing. I just think it adds pressure and puts you in this space of you're now the model couple. You're not the model couple. I don't want to be the model couple.
Yes.
I'm working on my stuff. So, I don't want to add the outside pressure.
Yeah, the goals, the relationship goals, it's not realistic because everyone has things that they're dealing with. Everyone has relationships that they're trying to handle. So I'll come to you with like some questions for advice.
Go for it.
Okay. So there's a woman that I'm going to ask this question. There's a woman that she's interested in a guy, but she likes him, but he's not a talker. And she wants to spend more time with him because he fits a lot of the criteria, but not talking is a deal breaker. For me, not talking is a deal breaker. Absolutely. So I can't help her because I would be like, you got to let him go. Like if you can't communicate, it's tough. What advice do you have from a man's perspective? Yes.
Project, leave that alone.
Yes.
Yeah, can't save him.
Right.
Yeah, don't leave it. He's not your child. Your child has not got a speech impediment or something like that you have to help them with. He's a grown-ass man. And if he can't open up with you, let me give you an example. One of my girlfriends in the past, I also found it very difficult to open up with her, right? Because I felt like we were on two different planes when it comes to the intellect. So you're missing the person. It's going over that person's head. But aside also like that, I needed therapy. Or I needed someone to at least release some of the deeper things that were on my mind to be able to be free. That's not a her problem.
Yes.
It's a me problem. Leave that man alone.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. She's making herself a project manager.
Yes.
And she needs to leave it alone.
I feel like a lot of times a person comes into, I've just been observing. It's not, well, first let me ask you, is there a scarcity of men, good men out here? Is it harder for, I know men can choose, but is it harder for women to choose men? And should we, find a good man and just kind of work around that?
Is there a scarcity?
Is it harder for women to meet a good man than it possibly would be for women or for men?
I think oh boy, I'm gonna get red pillish in a second, isn't it? Okay, here's a reality of the situation. I think we had this conversation someone a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people in the past used to go to college or whatever, university or whatever, and they would meet their husband there, right? Because you have ultimate time, you can see as many people, you can get to know the person, etc. We've now left that behind. We are now having careers, etc., etc. there is more of a scarcity because it's harder to meet people in the droves that you did when you were much younger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, of course, if you're at your workplace, but you only have those pool of people at workplace. If you go out, someone has to approach you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yes, there's a scarcity in that respect because actually the quantity actually that you'd have access to is reduced considerably. You know what I mean? Someone has to be brave enough to come and approach you and say, hey, you know, I'm kind of seeing you and I like you. And I think, you know what I mean? Like,
do you approach women when you see someone attractive that you like? You said you have to be brave.
I mean, listen, I've been in Houston for a few days. They know about me. But I've approached, okay? I've approached. Okay, I've approached.
Yeah.
I've approached.
I mean, I think men should approach women.
They should.
But not in the DMs, like in person.
The DMs too, but you know.
The DMs too, but you
approach
know.
in person. Do you know what? It's not easy to approach in person, you know?
I'm not a man, so I wouldn't know. 'Cause I don't approach as a woman.
Then that should give you an indication straight away. You've never. But look, I think it becomes difficult because sometimes you're trying to read body language.
Yeah.
You look over and you just want to look over and see. If you give me a smile, that means okay, you're probably interested. But some of you be giving these hard signals and saying you're thinking you're attracting us, like you know what I mean. I'm like
RB.
You know what I mean? Or you turn to your girlfriend and be like, please. But you might not have been saying that. You might have been saying something else. But I'm reading it as, well, she don't want to talk. So let me leave her alone. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, back to your original question. Sorry.
You're fine.
The scarcity. Yeah, I think there is a little bit of scarcity, but on both sides.
Yeah.
Because I think there are not enough good women either, as well as not good enough men. And the word you used there is good.
Yeah.
Not nice.
Yeah.
Not kind. You said good.
Yeah.
Which means people who are good know their boundaries.
Yes.
They're able to assert how they feel and what they're going through and what they want.
Mm-hmm.
These people are able to love and they're open to love, receiving it and giving it. That's what I'm casting as good. There's a lot of people who are just kind and they think that they should be in a relationship or nice and should be in a relationship. So yes, there's scarcity on both sides.
You like go through different shows and then you break down like, sometimes you break down like red flags and things that we should look for. So I want to talk about some red flags in general about men that maybe as women we're not aware of. What can you give us a few?
Red flags, right?
Yeah, I feel like not talking on the phone, to me, that's a red flag because why can't you talk on the phone?
Wait, why is someone not talking on the phone?
Yes, guys don't talk on the phone. I was telling my girlfriend, you got to get rid of that guy. Like, I met a great guy. He like was a texter. And I was like, I'm too big in age to be texting all day long.
Did he meet up though? Would he meet up?
He took me to dinner the next night that I met him.
What was he talking to?
He wasn't talkative in person. I didn't like him.
Was he a good listener?
He was a good listener, but I don't want to be the only one talking all the time. I want to talk back and forth. Yeah. And I felt like he was a little shy and I don't like that. I like confidence.
That's fair.
And he was a gentleman, opened the door, like a lot of great things, but we can't talk. It's a no for me. So when she was telling me like this guy, all he does is text, I was like, get rid of him. She was like, Lisa, you know, it's not a lot of good men. And I was like, okay, you'll get another one, but get rid of that one because not talking, for me, not talking is a deal breaker, but it's also a red flag. Like, why can't you talk? I've noticed that there are married men outside pretending to be single that do approach women and they have like a certain time of day that they can contact you, that they can take you out to dinner, that they can meet up. If you can't call them at 10 o'clock at night, because a single man can answer the phone at 10 o'clock at night.
I agree.
So for me, when I'm talking to my girlfriends and they're telling me like the guy texts too much, that's the first thing I say. Like if you can't talk to him on the phone, like, no, let it go.
But has the person tried to ring them on the phone though? Or have they just
she's been talking to him for a few weeks, so she's hanging in there. But Lisa is like, no, bye.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, again, you know, red flags. I think for me, first one is somebody who is, I think, let's talk about the obvious ones, right?
Okay.
Rude, disrespectful, doesn't honor your time, doesn't do what they say.
Yes.
You know, those are like this obvious kind of red flags. I think other red flags can be personalized to you individually, right? Like you said, texting, stuff like that. Some people don't mind that.
Yeah.
But some people are gonna be like, yeah, that ain't working for me. Like,
Yeah.
I need you to talk. I think red flags are more personal now. I think the obvious things are what we call social mannerisms and social rules. Don't flout them. Don't get in my personal space if I don't know you like that. Don't touch the person if you don't really know the person. Like, those are like social rules
Yeah.
that we can all say. I think red flags are more personal. You know what I mean?
What do you think about men who are in relationships
Oh, Lord.
liking other women's pictures on social media?
Is this what are those other pics?
They're pictures of women. I mean,
Okay.
they can be any kind of picture. I don't know. I mean, I haven't been in a situation like that yet, but
Yeah.
they're pictures of other women. I saw this debate recently and I was like, I don't know, because I haven't been there yet. I don't know what I'll do when that time comes.
Wait. How do they know they like those other pictures?
Well, Instagram is messy. So if we're following each other, it'll be like Kojo
And you'll see the
liked
photo. I
this
see.
Kojo and 20 other people like this
see.
photo.
That's true. Okay.
Or if you're leaving a comment like fire signs, the first thing you see is
It's the person you
Kojo
follow.
fire
Yeah,
signs.
that's very true. Okay. Look, I think that must be defined by each couple.
Yeah, I
You know
agree.
what I mean? My question is, if that bothers you, I think you should discuss it with your partner. You know what I mean? Let them know that this bothers you. But you might want to add why it bothers you. Why is it bothering you? Is that an insecurity? Because are you seeing women with maybe big butts and you haven't got a big butt and you're thinking to yourself, I feel like you like big butts and I haven't got a big butt, so you liking all them photos? And that's an insecurity that you
Yes.
have to discuss with your partner and say what you are actually feeling. Telling that person you can't like the photos is actually a problem, becomes controlling.
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, what is my motivation as to why this is a red flag if they're liking certain photos?
Yeah.
Because maybe you're having a pattern of thought. So discuss it with your partner. Be real about it. Be real with yourself.
Can men and women be just friends?
They can.
Really?
It's a rarity.
Is it?
It downright is.
Do you have any female friends that are just friends?
My best friend's a female.
Oh, okay. How long have you guys been friends?
Over a decade.
And nothing has ever happened. And you guys have like
Rarity.
the best, for sure, rarity.
Absolute rarity.
How did you guys meet?
Through Twitter at the time.
Okay.
You know, I was praying to the Lord. I was like, Lord, I had lost my best friend. So, not like definitely, but
Yeah.
as I came to the Lord, I lost him. So, I was like, Lord, I need a new best friend. And this is the person that he pointed out to me. And I was like, all right, cool. It's a woman though. And you know, my rules at the time were men and women cannot be friends. I still believe that to a degree.
Yeah.
But we ended up just clicking, and then we had gone through some history. I mean, she's gone through some things, so I've supported her through that. She supported me through certain things. Like, never ever, never slept in the same bed, never done the touching, never done none of that stuff. Like,
Okay.
it's clean. Do you know?
So
what I'm saying?
there are boundaries that you have.
Oh, I have boundaries. When I've got into a relationship, when she's got into a relationship, we've told each other, listen, you know, you can't ring past a certain time.
Yeah.
We don't expect those kind of things. Like, you honor that other person. If you get into a relationship, you got to meet the other person so that the other person can feel comfortable too.
Yes.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
love
mean?
that.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. Meeting the other person, because you can't date a guy and meet him. You just met him and he's had this best friend for years. That would be crazy to come in and think that you can step in between. Has that ever happened with someone saying like, I'm uncomfortable with you. I don't want you to be friends with her?
I think there's been some where they're not sure
Yeah.
about the relationship. But you know, once hey,
Yeah.
you can speak to us when you're right here, or you
Yeah.
can talk about this by yourself. There's a number. Talk
I
to
like
her.
that.
Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my thing is, I'm very militant about it because I don't want to feel a certain way either. Like, if you had a
Yes.
best friend as a male, I want to make sure that I'm doing whatever I can to make sure you're comfortable at ease. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't do there's no gray areas of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You like, you know, sometimes like some friendships, maybe there's like a hug that's a bit too much. You're like,
Yes.
I don't do none of that stuff. I just can't. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I don't want you to feel some way. And I never want to put that idea in your head
Yes.
because I'm not trying to do that. You know what I mean? I want to respect my friendship. I want to respect you as a partner. You come first. And this is the thing. It's almost like that analogy where who sits in the front? Let me tell you this now. Best friend sits in the back. You sit in the front, babe. There's never going to be an argument.
I love this.
Never.
Yeah. This is clear communication though. And that's
Yeah.
why communication is so important. You could text this conversation, but it may not sound the same reading it as hearing it.
Oh, but would you have a...
I've tried to have male friends.
hard, isn't it?
I've tried really hard because I like to bounce ideas off of guys. The male friends that I do have are like maybe an ex-boyfriend. I have two friends, one was recently divorced, and he was coming out of the divorce when I met him, and we started working on a podcast together, and immediately he said, Lisa, I'm not interested in dating you. I just need a friend right now because I'm going through a tough time, and I really value your friendship, and we've been friends ever since. I think that first conversation that we had where he was just like, this is not why I'm around you. I'm brokenhearted. I'm around you because I really value your advice. And then I have another friend. He's a guy and he's married, and I'm friends with his wife. I mean, I prefer.
I love, yeah.
Yeah, if we're gonna be friends, we gotta all be friends. And I like setting a boundary in the beginning. Like, we're just gonna be friends. We're gonna honor that friendship. But I came home. I was living in Vegas, and then when I came back, when I was going through my divorce, I reached out to all the guys that I knew that were my friends in college, and I'm calling them up because I just want to vent. I want to talk, hang out. I want to go get drinks. And they're like, nah, Lisa, we ain't friends. Like, I'm interested. I'm shooting my shot. And I was disappointed because I had to put them in a different category. You were a friend all that time because you didn't actually qualify. You put you in the friend zone. So.
But you see that? This is why, I'm going to be honest with you, this is why I do not make any female friends who I'm attracted to. I'm sorry. I know people don't like that. But the reality is, I've got a self-destruct button in me. I'm a male. I have an ego, and that at any time in the wrong scenario, could go kaboom.
Yes, 100%.
So I can't do it. So like me and you, we can't be friends.
But what about if?
I'm so sorry.
But what about like in the beginning you may not be physically attracted to her, but you could hang out with her and you could just fall in love with her mind.
I mean, that would take a bit of time though.
It would.
Yeah, that could take a bit of time.
It would.
That's not.
But that's never happened where you just this was a platonic friendship, and then over time you're like, oh, okay.
No, men are.
So it's physical for you.
Okay. We usually.
It's immediately physical.
It has to be physical. It absolutely is.
Wow.
But that maybe my ego playing through. So you know what I mean. But for me, yeah, we don't do the female. I don't like to say females. Women that are attractive to you personally.
Yeah.
I don't kid myself and pretend. If it's business, it's business.
Yes.
I don't need to do the extras because I know me. I can fall into I'm just being cool.
Yes.
We're just vibing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And also, you have to also be aware as well. You don't even realize how much impact you have on someone else, right? So, for instance, when I talk about relationships and I get deep into your soul, you don't know what that does to the other person.
Yeah.
And how they start seeing you. Even in therapy, how people can fall for their therapist. So
yes.
if I'm not even your therapist, that can happen to someone else. So you have to be careful and say, let me be smart. I'm spending a bit too much time with her.
Yeah.
And I'm liking it. But why am I liking it?
Is it feeding your ego?
That's the question you have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Or is it because you genuinely like their company? And sometimes as men, we just love the fact we have beautiful women around us.
Yeah.
But that's dangerous.
Yeah. You know what? I think I've been around someone because they've been feeding my ego now that I think about it.
Women do it too. I just want to let you know as well. It's not just men. Women do it too.
Yes. I mean, I love to be called beautiful. I love to get compliments. And I got somebody close to me. We're just friends. But when I think about it, like, they may be feeding my ego a little bit. I might have to consider that.
We used to call that on me and my friend used to say, feed me. It's feed me. Like you have people that feed you.
Yes.
You know? Men and women do it.
Yeah. That's very true.
So yeah, I'm sure you have a few of those men who are like, yeah, you're amazing, you're great.
Yeah.
You're so beautiful.
They're like, feed me more.
Yeah. And that's why he stayed in the friend zone, because he's like, when I need him to feed me, he feeds me.
Yeah, come over and talk to me.
You see?
Come feed me.
And this is why I can't be friends with you, because that's how you get played. You in your heart, you're like, oh, she invited me over.
Yes.
She didn't want you, bro.
Right, I'll be like, what are you doing? We're just friends.
And now you've messed it up. See?
Yes, get out of the house.
Now you can't be cool anymore after that.
Right, because I mean, you crossed that line.
You crossed that line now.
It's a wrap for me. I don't want you crossing any lines with me. Not my friends, at least.
And that's why I don't do those things. So you have to be smart as a man. And I was saying to my friend yesterday, like, you gotta be aware as well that pretty women have an effect. Like we talk about this word grace. Grace is favor, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a power. I mean, it's ability to influence you. As a man, you have to be aware of what beauty does to you. So I'm aware now, and not being stupid about it, like when I was 18, that beauty moves me. So yes, of course, my ego gets stroked when a beautiful woman that I find attractive is giving me the time of day. I'm getting excited.
Yeah.
But if I'm not aware of that and aware of the effects of it, I find myself in a situation where I'm like, oh, where am I now? You know what I mean? Like, so, and also you have to be aware, and you just said this, and I love that you actually were honest about it. Mm-hmm. Pretty women like having attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes you are the person that they are sucking their attention from. And that's not what you want. Sometimes you have to destroy the box.
Yes.
And go about your business.
Yeah, I've definitely done that. Like I took about 6 months and I was just like completely by myself because I just was, I felt like I couldn't trust myself and the boundaries that I was setting. I was thinking like, these people are my friends, and maybe I'm giving the wrong impression. Like, cause like, why does this keep happening? You have to take a step back. And I think it's a really valid point to be able to say, I'm going to take a step back. I'm not going to date. I'm going to be single for a while. I'm going to just spend some time with myself and love on myself and see what's important to me, how I like to be treated, maybe see how I'm treating other people, have some therapy, hang out with my friends, get some feedback from my friends. Because when I was hanging out with my friends, I was just like, y'all, is this what we're going to do all the time? We're going to go out to dinner and dress up just so that we can look cute we have to like do stuff for us.
Yeah.
It's not always about the opposite sex.
Is that true?
Yes, that's true. I mean, and I always feel like it's going to happen when you least expect it. So if we walk in there like we're looking, it's not going to happen that day.
No, that's true.
I mean, we're going to turn heads, but we might not turn the right head. So we want to just take our time and just let it happen. And I enjoy spending time with my girlfriends and catching up on conversations. You know, I love a good conversation, but I like to know what's going on because I was away for a while. And I'm not sure what you're going to do. I'm not sure what you're going to do, Kojo.
You know what, me personally, and you know, I like beauty, but I also like the mind. I like the depth of the mind. So that's what I'm attracted to. So yes, the beauty gets me in.
Yeah.
But not everybody has the mind that I enjoy. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
If I have that mind where I feel like we're doing a tete, which is just like a back and forth, then yeah, by all means. You know?
Is there an abundance of women for you to choose from where you're at?
I'll be honest with you. I know.
What?
I don't think that's for any. Listen, if any man is real with himself, there is not an abundance of women. There's an abundance of women, but how many of them actually relate with you?
Yes.
We're in the same position as women. So, and that's what happens when men settle. I said this to a friend yesterday. They settle in these marriages and then they treat the woman badly because I asked a question. I said, if I get in a relationship with you and I don't feel the need that I could die for you, then do I really love you?
Yeah.
And I don't think many men, I think those marriages where men are settling, they don't love that person enough to die for that person.
Oh.
They might die for the kids, but they wouldn't die for her. And the reason being is because you don't actually love her the way you're supposed to.
Oh
because that love should bring a sacrificial. I was saying to you, I've met maybe 2 or 3 women in my entire life, inside my family, that when I've met them and I've spoken to them, I've enjoyed their time, like, you know what, I could die for you.
Yeah.
And it's not a forced thing, it's just natural.
Yeah.
I said, that means there are other people that I may be loving, but I'm settling with. Because I wouldn't want to die for them necessarily. You know what I mean? So I know some men will probably be like, oh, what do you mean? But the Bible talks about how our love is that you should be able to lay your life down for that person. So if you can't do that, the question is, do you actually really love that person?
Yeah. That reminds me, like, one of the things that as a woman, we want to be protected. And that means that protection comes with, you know, of course, jumping in front of a bullet, dying for me, protecting me, doing what that would be. But that also is financially, that's mentally, that is just having integrity. Let's talk about the protection of a man, because we know that finances are important, but there's a whole vast of resources that a man is supposed to come with, not just the finances.
Absolutely. We talk about the intimacy spaces. So there's mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, sexual as well, right? And as a leader, I believe that you should also be, you know, competent in the mental and emotional. So mental is your ideas, your thoughts, your dreams, your passions. And then the emotional is your actual emotions. How do I handle you? And I've been saying this for a very long time, that as men, you have to be emotionally regulated, because if I say this, the women are going to go crazy. I love women, but y'all sometimes can be a little bit irrational. The emotions start going.
Yeah. And
I feel like sometimes women are almost kind of, they want to push the boundaries, not because they don't like you.
Yeah.
But it's like, I almost like they want to see if they're safe.
Yeah, for
you know
sure.
I mean? So they're pushing a little bit. So they're being
Yeah.
And of course as well, let's not forget, tying them up is not easy. So I've now learned, after being a little bit sick, I said, I was a bit irrational. I can understand, right? That you push a bit of the boundary. And as a man, I have to be ready to say, the Bible says 12 women according to knowledge. I have to know you well enough to be like, she's pushing my boundaries.
Yes.
Babe, calm down.
Yes.
Or do you know what? Let her go. She's going to do that. Give her 5 minutes. She's going to come back.
Right.
But if I don't know you very well, I'm going to fire some cannons back your way.
Right.
And when I fire it, you're going to want to fire some cannons back. And this is where the argument starts going in a very wild way rather than keeping it more mellow and chill. Sometimes I've got to say, listen, babe, right now, the conversation's getting heated. I got to leave it. As a leader, that's how I protect you emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
By sometimes saying, this conversation isn't beneficial right now. I'm getting heated. You're getting heated. It's not working for us. That's how I protect you emotionally and mentally. Also, at the same time, honoring your feelings. There may be times where you just want to talk and you don't need a solution from me.
Yes.
Right? But sometimes, man, we like, the reason why we give you solutions is because we're tired of hearing what you want to say. I'll be honest with you. That's the only reason why we give you solutions.
All right.
But I have to be ready to say, she wants to say what she wants to say. Let her
Just
get off her
listen.
chest and
Yeah.
listen. And that's how I protect you emotionally and mentally. Maybe you have ideas. Maybe you see my business going somewhere and you're like, babe, I see some things that maybe you can look at. I'm not going to shut you down. I'm going to be like, okay, babe, what do you see? Okay, babe, I saw that. No, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. But I love the ideas you gave, babe.
Yeah.
Maybe that we can do something else. That's how I honor you emotionally and mentally and protect you, and by making sure that I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to hear you. And I'm also ready to
Love.
To love, yeah. That's what the Bible says. Man should love his wife.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're weakest at.
Absolutely. Like Christ loves the church.
Exactly.
So who do you get your relationship from? Who do you turn to? I mean, you dish it. Where do you turn to get sound advice?
I mean, first of all, the Bible.
Of course.
But secondly, I have a friend, Curtis, older gentleman, and I'm always learning from him. He'd be giving real advice. He's been married for a long time as well. And I just love the fact that the way that they are able to navigate situations. It's not perfect. But the way he talks, I'm like, yeah, this is making sense.
Yeah.
He's not a famous YouTuber or anything like that, but wisdom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, it's him.
Wisdom is important. I think that, the advice that you give, it's sound. That's the reason why we tune in. And it's delivered with kindness. It's delivered matter of fact. And there's, it's funny sometimes, and it's not at the expense of anyone, but there's a little humor so that we can receive it. I love watching your show because I don't ever think that when I'm listening to you that you're coming down on someone. It does feel like it's coming from a loving place, from care. I care about you. I want to give this to you, my brother, my sister. I want what's best for you. And that's the kind of, that's our friend in YouTube. Yeah. Our friend on YouTube. We want to hear some loving kind of advice. Sometimes it's not the advice we want to hear, but you're able to do that. How are you able to stay objective through all these different, because you meet a lot of people and interview a lot of people?
I think because the objective is to listen first. You know what I mean? Like even though I'm sitting here, I'm trying to listen as much as I can, but it's sometimes hard because I'm like, I'm on the other end. It's not easy to do. I'm ready to ask questions. But I like to listen.
Yeah.
I genuinely love to listen and ask questions and make sure that I'm actually hearing you.
Yeah.
Because I want to understand. So the way I stay unbiased is by going, I need to give you a chance to talk. I need to give you a chance to say what you got to say and hear what you're saying. But that's not always what I'm not always unbiased. Sometimes I'm like, no, you crazy. I ain't got time for it. You crazy. But you miss out some great teachable moments when you don't sit and just go, I'm going to listen to you. I may think I know your story, but if I sit and listen to you, I'm going to learn something.
Did you go to school for communication? I know you talked about psychology. What'd you go to school for?
I went business studies.
Okay.
I failed psychology. I got a U. Ungraded. I didn't even get, I got it in the first year, ungraded, failed. Yeah, I told my dad I cried that day. He said,
you've taken this whole journey and you have Little Black Book. What is Little Black Book?
Yeah.
What is that for? What does that mean? What's the background behind that?
So as a Christian, the Bible's leather black. And then the 90s, I love the 90s. You know how the little address book?
Yes.
That's what the two, so it's a combination of those two.
Yeah.
Little Black Book is like that. You know what I mean? So
it's like the Little Black Book when I was growing up in the 90s was where guys would have their telephone numbers of the women. And I think maybe Boomerang, maybe Eddie Murphy's character Marcus has a Little Black Book filled with all the baddies that he was meeting. So, we're about to wrap our show. I want to thank you so much. You're here in Houston, Texas from the UK. What do you want to leave our listeners with? Do you want to say anything?
Yeah. I just think, my thing that I always leave people is please be self-aware. And that means slowing down, taking time and reviewing the tape and asking yourself some real critical questions. What part did I play in this scenario? And it may be a small part, but whatever you played, review it and ask yourself that question. What is my motivation for why I'm entering into a relationship? Is it because I want to be loved, or am I alone? Am I feeling scared? What is it? And if you can't, ask one of your good friends, because not maybe all of them are good, but ask somebody to who sees you for who you really are. And sometimes that's a truth teller in your group, which is not very nice.
Yeah. But
that truth teller can see some stuff that we're like, hey, X, Y, and Z, this is what you do. It ain't great. And just be real about it. But, okay, cool. I've seen it. I'm going to deal with it.
Have people told you in your group, X, Y, and Z, this is what Kojo needs to do? Listen, and you received it?
They be telling me. And I'll be looking at them and going, you're right. I ain't really changed it, but you're right. I was wrong, but I don't want to change it right now.
Okay, well, that's real. At least that's real.
Yeah, I'm locked in, So, yeah.
That's what we love you for, Kojo. We love you for your real, authentic conversation and just being who you are. Continue the content that you have provided for us. We're going to continue to love and support on your channel.
Thank you.
And where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Little Black Book 91. So Little Black Book 91, not boy, because usually when I say it, people say boy. Little Black Book 91. That's on Insta and on YouTube. If you like me to dance, listen, because that's what I do as well. I bounce the chest muscles as well. Okay, a little thirst trap. Okay, with some music.
He also sings.
I do actually sing as well. But listen, tune into the YouTube, you see it. But yeah, you can find me on TikTok at Black Muscle 91. Yeah, the name is the name. Yes, that's where you can find me as well. So, yeah, you can find me on those.
We're going to be waiting. I'm waiting for all these black men who give out relationship advice to put a ring on it.
Put a ring.
Because apparently it's easy to dish. It must be harder.
It's much harder to take.
It must be.
You know what I mean?
It's so easy for me to listen to everybody, but
taking the advice yourself, absolutely difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're trying.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on our show.
Pleasure.
And thanks you guys for listening to In Their Closets.